Fantastic. So welcome to the growing stage for Saturday afternoon. It's 2:30 here in the UK. And our next workshop is going to be another cracker. What we've had so far today on the growing stage, we've had MBAs, we've had social media, we've had elevator pitches, storytelling, but all of that's completely irrelevant if you don't believe in yourself. It's all completely irrelevant if what you are trying to do on social media, in your MBA, in your elevator pitch, is being limited by your negative thinking. The whole point of this stage is to grow, is to develop. But if you're prevented from growing by your own internal demons, you're going to get nowhere. Which is why this is going to be such an important session for people who really struggle with their self-doubts. We've all done it, we all do it, we all suffer from our self-doubts. But we're now going to find out how we can banish those thoughts. So I'd like you all to give a huge welcome to Martina Simakova and her workshop, Abolish the biggest limiting beliefs. Martina, stage is yours. Please, big round of applause.
Thank you very much for Andy and all the support I have been getting. So let me start. Hello and welcome to Abolish the biggest limiting beliefs workshop. So this workshop is all about understanding what limiting beliefs are, what they are, how they affect us in everyday life. So before we start, let me introduce myself and how limiting beliefs held me back and how I've overcome it. Would that be okay if I share my story with you? Great. So my screen decided to freeze. That's a great start. So who is Martina? I have started coaching in 2018 after I've hit a rock bottom. So I've suffered with depression, anxiety, panic attacks. I was beaten by my parents every single day. I've been always told that I'm not good enough. And then I don't whatever amount to anything in my life. Can you imagine how this have impacted me as a child? I was depressed. I was a very lonely child. I didn't believe that I'm worthy of love. So this kept happening over the whole childhood and took all those beliefs into my early adulthood life. So I came in the UK, came to live here, and I've started meeting new friends, I've started new work, and I built myself a new life. However, all those beliefs still were within me. So I struggled to make new friends. I struggled to strive in my professional life. I struggled with every single aspect of my life because I had those beliefs about myself that I don't deserve better, that I don't deserve the success in my life because I've been told every single day that I don't matter. So one day I had a really low point in my life and I had my best friend over. So we started talking about why am I the way they are? Why am I acting the way I do? And why everything is going so against me? I so wanted to have a normal life like everyone else. Loads of friends, great work, money, relationships, but I couldn't hold any of that. So she was like, listen, Martina, the reason why, because you are so negative, you don't even realize that people don't want to be around you. You put yourself down even before anyone else tries to. And therefore, no one really wants to be around you. And that to me was so hurtful in my heart that I was like, oh gosh, why didn't you tell me that earlier? And she was like, well, I've tried. But you had blinkers around your eyes and you didn't hear, or you didn't want to know about it. So I had two choices. I either carry on with my life and be the way I am, or I'll start making difference. I'll become a better person, better version of myself that I will start healing from within. And this is where my journey really started. So I asked for a counseling, which I had given 6 months to. And to be honest, the traditional way of counseling didn't work for me. Why? Because every time I went to that session, I started reliving all those past experiences I was trying to put behind me. So every time the therapist asked me, so what happened and how that made you feel? And all of that, I started reliving within myself. I started becoming angry on the sessions, really emotional. And I just wanted to get away. So the therapist was like, yeah, that's right. It really happened to you and you're right to feel that way. And to me, that was an empowering way to keep ending sessions, because after the session each time, I've been home and I felt even worse about myself than I did before I started the session. So going for a few weeks and months, I realized this is really not serving me. This is not making me feel any better. So I've ditched the counseling and I've started looking more holistic way. So I've started meditating, journaling, Reiki, different kind of healings, crystal healing, you name it, I have tried it all. And don't take me wrong, it did help me to heal my painful wounds. And it made me feel better, but there was always something missing. I didn't know what it was. And if you don't know what the problem is, how can you solve the problem with a solution? So that's where I was stuck. I kept trying different things. People were recommended to me. People were talking about, try this, you'll feel great. It wasn't until I've discovered neurolinguistic programming. So I loved everything about it. They teach you the language of body, the language of the tone of your voice, the language of your body language, the way how you interact with others, which I wasn't quite aware of. And what else I learned was that my timeline was the other way around. So that means is that my past was in front of me and my future was behind me. No wonder I didn't see opportunities. No wonder I couldn't see any chances to become better. When what I saw was my past in front of me. So after we've discovered that, we turned the timeline to the right way. Yes, I felt a little bit dizzy, but it started to make sense. I started to see a little opportunities in my life. And I started to see some things which made me happy, instead of just dwelling on the past and dwelling all those emotions which I've covered away and was hoping you'll never come through. So I had to face my fears, my biggest demons I've been running away from. So by doing NLP practicing, learned me to face my biggest fears, those limiting beliefs about myself. And what we did, we found the very first moment the trauma happened in my childhood, and we addressed that. So what happened that I've learned the lesson from the traumatic experience, and I took it all the way to the present. So what that means is all the other events which had happened after the traumatic event had no longer affected me emotionally. So if I look at my past, I no longer have the same attachment to the emotions, to the event that had happened. So that set me free. It was such a transformational experience for me that it made me realize that there is so many people out there like me who suffered with some kind of trauma, who tried to better themselves, but they didn't know how. So they tried and spent so much money on, but nothing really worked. So I was like, if I can do it, I can show others how to do the same. So I started working with people who wanted to get better within themselves, who wanted to strive more, who wanted to become the better version of themselves. So instead of dwelling on the past, we started to rewiring the brain and face the limiting beliefs and reprogramming in a way that the past would no longer affect them. So those limiting beliefs about themselves had to change into more empowering beliefs. So this will bring me to another slide. So what is limiting beliefs? So it's a self-created excuse, the story you've learned from your past experiences and created it into a limit that keep you in your comfort zone. Let me say that again. It's a self-created excuse, the story you learned from the past experiences and created it into a limit that you use to keep yourself in the comfort zone. So basically, it's the story you keep telling yourself every single day, why you can't do things that without even trying. Those limiting beliefs you accept to be true. You accept that it exists for you and therefore it's true for you. For example, we all believe that the sun will come out tomorrow morning because that's what we know as being true. We know that the sun will be out tomorrow morning because that's what we've always known been happening. So that's what is true for you. And you really need to start seeing those limiting beliefs and start changing into a better way of thinking. So your environment is the key to your success in everyday thoughts. So the thoughts can either empower you or limit you. So every situation we live or the event we give meaning to, that changes the understanding how we see things and how we behave. All the limiting beliefs that are not healthy needs to be addressed, needs to be changed or disposed of. Imagine a brand new computer. When you buy a brand new computer, it's wonky, it's fast, it's great, and everything works perfectly. Over the time, you download certain programs onto your laptop or computer, and it starts getting slower and slower. And occasionally, you might get a virus. When that happens, you need a professional help. You need someone to clear it off. That's what happens to our mind. So when we're born, we are limitless, we are fearless, and we do things without even thinking about failure. We do it until we try. When the child falls over, when they try to learn to walk, they do it over and over again until they succeed. So it is that simple. So you need to undergo the chaos in your mind by structuring what's going on and think clearly and really structure it in a way that is clear for you. So action precedes clarity. So where does those limiting beliefs come from? So we can borrow them or we can learn it. So you learn it from your parents, you learn it from your grandparents, and you learn it from your environment. So, for example, you see somebody who doesn't believe in themselves. If you are at a certain age and you think you need to start over, then you need to work on yourself. And you might say, well, I'm too old to start over and I don't want to start over. I I'm so old and scared. So Dr. Maurice Macy have studied child development and have discovered that the period between 0 to 7 years are the imprint period. So around around the age of 6, the child will start acknowledging your limiting beliefs, the way how you react to yourself, to your environment, how you speak to yourself and how you speak to others. And they'll pick up on those behaviors. So what happens if you start talking that we haven't got enough money, that we can't afford it, and I'm too old to start something new, then it will believe the same things, that it will take the beliefs, your beliefs, into their belief system and start carrying it around when they get older. So it's very important that you control the way how you speak to yourself and how you speak to the others, especially around children, around young children, because they learned our behaviors. So can you imagine that 80% of people are trapped in their limiting beliefs because of the fears? So it's so scary to think that people use the past as an excuse for moving forward. People avoid moving forward from the fear of being judged or being compared. So those things are all outside of your control. What you can control is you and how you behave. So it's so important that you start making yourself happy within yourself rather than just what is around you. And the only person you can make happy is make happy you. So when you stop trying to become a better person than you were yesterday, you fail yourself. It is your duty to make yourself happy because no one else will. So there are significant events that happens in our life. So what that means is if you experience certain trauma in your life, in your childhood, and then when you experience those events, it doesn't matter how many good events you have in your life, you will always end up concentrating on the negative ones. Why? Because it's just the way how we are wired. Instead of saying the positives, we go straight to the negatives. And unfortunately, that's happening over and over again. And it's something, if we don't learn to the right way of how to act in certain situations, that will become your limiting belief and will not help you to become a better version in future. Like I said, I needed to learn about myself. So I went to counseling. It didn't help me because I was always in the past. I was talking about past emotions, which didn't make me feel better. So can you imagine that you face that very first event in your life, and when you learn the learnings and apply them in your present, then all the negative events that had happened after that event, the first event, have no longer control over you. Wouldn't that be great? Yes, of course it would be, and it is possible. So instead of fighting it and resisting the change, we need to address to the very first event. And with timeline therapy, with a kind of hypnosis, you can do that. So once you learn the lesson and apply the lesson into your present life, that no other negative emotions will run over you in the present nor the future. So it will set you free. It will set you free from all the limiting beliefs. I'm not saying you will never have limiting beliefs. We all do, but you have to continuously working towards bettering yourself in order to get what you truly want. So there is only 3% of people who are aligned with their frequency. What that means is only 3% of population are the ones who live in their true life they've designed. Why? Because they don't let the fear and the limiting beliefs stop them. They work through them. They practice every single day. So if you see some people, it's important that you empower them, that you lend them your certainty that they are worth fighting for. And instead of making them feel bad, empower them, make them feel stronger, give them your certainty in order for them to really get to the point. So to get to where they really want to go. And so what do we have learned so far? We have learned what the limiting beliefs are. We have learned how they have impacted our life and how we can overcome it. So let me do a short exercise with you. So I want you to put your hands like that. Put them like that, like this. So put your fingers together. So now I look at the fingers. So put your fingers apart like that. Put your fingers apart. And now, as I'm gonna tell you, imagine your fingers getting close together. Imagine them getting closer and closer and closer, like a magnet is closing on you. Just focus on those fingers, and everyone's fingers in this room will touch. Stop resisting and just allow them for your fingers to touch. If you have already touched, if your fingers have already touched, that's perfect. If you keep resisting, just let it go. So I just want you to imagine those fingers getting tighter and tighter and tighter. Imagine there is a brass ring around those fingers, and the brass ring is getting smaller and tighter, and those fingers are getting stuck. Just allow for those fingers to touch if they haven't touched already. You are being resistant. Perfect. And just imagine this brass ring around those fingers, and imagine that the brass ring is getting smaller and smaller and tighter and tighter. So the brass is completely immersing into your fingers. Imagine it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and squeezing and getting tighter and tighter, and absorbing your fingers all together. So just imagine that it's getting tighter. So when your fingers touch together, just imagine that they are so stuck, they can't get unstuck. Okay, so your fingers are so unstuck. Show me your fingers so I can see. Let me scroll, everyone. Good. For those people whose fingers are not touched, there is a lesson to learn. So what did you learn by this lesson? By imagining what I've been saying, by imagining those fingers getting closer and tighter, and they are stuck. You believe that they are stuck, okay? So that shows that your belief system, you will find an easier way to change your limiting beliefs. You will find it easier today to change your mindset into a better way. For those who didn't have their fingers stuck, they will find it really difficult to change the way they think and believe. So I hope you have learned something from this session, and that just shows where you are in your life, whether you are ready to face your limiting beliefs and whether you are ready to make the changes. So for those who would be interested to work with me, I've got an amazing offer for you on one-on-one. So what you will get a 12 sessions with me, 1 call each, unlimited support. You get homework tasks which help you to get over your fears. You will get the timeline therapy the hypnosis that will get rid of all your emotions from the past that will no longer impact you in your future. So the results you are going to get is the direction, the fulfillment, the removing of limiting beliefs. You will have better relationships, you will have better health, better sleep, and more money. So if you're interested, there is a link below. So you can schedule the consultation with me. And the discount code just mentioned Toastmasters 21. So you will get the 20% offer discount. So I'm open the questions for you. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have. Do we have any questions?
So before we go on to the questions, we've got about 15 minutes or so for questions. Can I just please ask that we give Martina a huge round of applause? I think that was not only a really brave speech to be dealing with very sensitive topics, but I think really enlightening for the audience. And no matter how bad you feel, you can turn things around. You can break that negative cycle, and that I think is a fantastic takeaway. We're looking for these huge takeaways from the sessions today, and I think Martina's is definitely, no matter what your current mindset is, you can break that cycle. You can pull yourself out of it and stop limiting your beliefs. So a huge round of applause, please, for Martina, because I think that was an outstanding workshop. So can we allow people to unmute themselves, please, Madam Zoom Master? And if you've got any questions, either raise your hand, put them in the chat, or stick your head above the parapet and say hello. I'll say we've got about 12 minutes or so before we have to close the Zoom rooms. Who'd like to go first with a question? Or do we have some in the chat already, Annie?
There's nothing so far, but I've actually got a question for Martina.
Okay.
I'd just like to know, Martina, whereabouts are you from originally?
Originally, I'm from Slovakia, but I've lived here a lot longer than I've ever lived in Slovakia, so I don't think about it anymore. I've lived here over 20 years, 26 years, or something like that. So yeah, I still got quite a strong accent. So you might have picked up on that.
Yes, I thought you're incredibly brave and real to really share your story. So, thank you very much for letting us hear that.
Thank you. I think it's quite important to know that you are not alone, and then anything you have experienced doesn't have to have the impact on your life. You can change that, and the change you can only make you. Nobody else can do it for you. And I thought, if I share my story, it will make you more empowered, and that anything is possible when you put your mind to it, because that's truly what it is. If you make that the right decision and you've got your why, you're already halfway there, and you already can make the changes. If your why is not strong enough, you will absolutely struggle, because it's not easy, but it's well worth it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the fact that it's not just the fact that you've been through that journey yourself. I think it's the fact that you now want to be helping others through that journey that makes it even more powerful, because you could have taken the easy option. You could have come out of it and kind of gone, great, I'm just going to get on with the rest of my life now. But you've chosen to help others, and I think that's a really worldly thing to do. And again, I think it just shows that the whole power of mental capacity to want to be able to go back and almost kind of revisit this in kind of a pseudo way with others. But the way that you spoke was clearly very, very personal. And we all have these personal stories within us, and that's what makes these whole workshops so much more relevant and so much more powerful for people. So it's absolutely fantastic. So have we got any more questions?
Yeah, I could like to ask a question.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Hello, my name's Almeric, by the way. I'm English, even though I've got a funny name. My curiosity is that you've evidenced your history, but most people, some of the traumas that you described was persistent traumas, is that most people, a lot of people don't necessarily have it as direct. It's indirect. Inculcation into a young person's mind or body even. How do they perceive it and understand that they've actually got these limiting beliefs rather than just they're a belief that they act on?
Well, it's a good question, and it's not as easy. If you're not aware, a lot of people unfortunately are not aware that they are living in a certain way.
Yeah.
Until they start the journey of self-development. I guess the questions you need to be asking is that what you've always dreamed of? Are you where you wanted to be? And if you are not, why are you not? And that's where the questioning starts. That's where you start questioning what is the reason why I'm not where I want to be? What is slowing me down? And by questioning, how can I make this better and what needs to change in order for me to get where I need to be? Hopefully you will discover that there are certain beliefs about yourself why you are not achieving those results you've always dreamed about. So not everyone is aware that they have limiting beliefs. And it's important that you ask the right questions.
Of course, yeah. Now the reason why I
answered your question.
The reason why I ask is because I'm a coach. So in the sense of when we do tests for limiting beliefs, or so-called beliefs anyway. And one of the things that we have to be very careful of, just sharing this with you in the sense of, is that whether it is actually a limiting belief. And we only can do that by asking for evidence. And I don't know how you get there with NLP.
Well, sure, we're asking the right questions, and by asking the right questions, where you are right now and where you want to be and why you are not where you want to be, that's how we get to the core of the problem. So the questioning is the only way how you can find out what the reasoning behind your lacking of success is.
Yeah, no, it's just a parallel system, that's all. I was interested in what you said, it was lovely. And you were brave. There's somebody saying you are brave.
Thank you. I guess it's not about being brave, it's about empowering others, because not everyone can have such a traumatic childhood. Not everyone's got to experience trauma in order they have a limiting beliefs in their systems. So it's not just you have to have this problem. You can be well successful, you can be a millionaire and still have limiting beliefs within yourself at a certain point of your life. Everyone's going to experience that, whether you're successful or whether you're not. The problem is those people who are successful, they're more likely to be aware that when you hit a certain success, then they stop for a certain period of time before they move forward. So they will start asking questions, what do I need to do in order to move from where I am right now to make even twice as much in a month than I am already making right now? So it's all about being aware of your beliefs about yourself. Although you might not necessarily need to know that those are limiting beliefs. It's just something you believe it's true about you.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Any more questions for Martina?
Okay. Hello, James.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for your story. I think that resonates with me. Certainly, I can see sort of maybe common things with stuff I've experienced. But to resonate with the limiting beliefs, hearing that's partly why I'm here. So I'm taking a risk asking a question. So I was wondering how the NLP approach sort of compares with things like acceptance and commitment therapy and other approaches. I've kind of learned a little bit about that and about kind of looking at values and that kind of thing. So it's just
therapists have got very different approaches, and yes, the outcome essentially is supposed to be the same. With NLP, we don't look at the content, we look at the context. So instead of keep talking about the experiences, we just address it, learn the lessons, and move on from it. So with the NLP, you don't talk about the experience. Yes, you need to tell the story, so there is the understanding. But once the story is acknowledged, with NLP, you don't get to be dragged in the same memory, in the same experience. For example, like I've compared with the traditional counseling. So we don't talk about the events. We acknowledge the emotions and how it's stopping you, the emotions, to move forward. So we address the emotions. So you release the emotion which are trapped within the event that happened to you, instead of reliving it over and over again. So that is the difference between NLP and perhaps any other therapies. I'm not necessarily aware of all of them, how they work, so I can't exactly compare to the great details, but that's what NLP does.
Lovely.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much indeed. So I'm afraid we need to wrap it up there, but Martina, it's been an absolute pleasure. And again, 30 minutes have just absolutely flown by. It's been so insightful. So can I just ask for another quick round of applause, please, for Martina, because you know, that was a really, really top quality workshop there.